This is field notes from The Proving, short reflections from inside the process of building a life that's earned, not perfected, earned. For years, there was a voice in my head, not a loud one, not a dramatic one, more like a teleprompter. It would show up late at night, sometimes 2 a.m., sometimes 3, sometimes 4, and it would quietly scroll through everything that I wasn't. I was too intense, maybe too emotional, too much, too ambitious, too annoying, too different. And for a long time, I thought that voice was part of the formula. I thought it was optimization, and I actually thought it was helping me become better. For years, those thoughts lived in my head very much rent free. I didn't treat them like criticism, I treated them like instructions. Because you see, the formula always had an answer. If something felt wrong, the answer was simple. You go back to the formula and you look at it and you say, I have to work harder, adjust the system, improve the variable, and it'll fix the output. So when those thoughts appeared late at night, I just assumed the formula was just reminding me to improve something, to optimize something, or you have to tighten the system. I thought that voice was helping me and it was trying to keep me sharp, or it was kind of like the connection between who I was and who I was supposed to become. But what I didn't really realize at the time was that my body already knew something was wrong. My head thought the formula was right, but my heart was telling a completely different story. The formula had always worked. Every problem had a variable, every variable had a solution, and then every solution had a produced output. Very simple. So when something didn't work, I just recalculated. Almost like all those scenes in the movies where there's like a CIA analyst and is staring at all the screens full of numbers, and suddenly they see a pattern. That's kind of how my brain works. If X failed, you switch to Y. If Y failed, you adjust Z. But eventually, something strange started happening. The system stopped responding. The formula stopped producing clear answers. And that was just unfamiliar territory because the formula wasn't designed to ever break. In my mind, it was built to be everlasting and truly bulletproof. It was designed to always help. It was always designed to solve. But suddenly the system wasn't giving me the solutions anymore. It was giving me confusion. It felt like there was like mixed signals. Like, do I go left or do I go right? Do I stay straight? And it was seemed like just contradicting information. And so for the first time, I had to ask a strange question, which is, who is actually talking to me right now? Because the voice I thought was guidance started sounding like something else entirely. And you have to realize that is an unfamiliar feeling. And it was something I had almost no experience with because my entire life was about solving things. It was never about experiencing them. Again, the formula ruled my world. Precision always had been the answer. But the cost of precision is experience. When you're constantly trying to solve life, you stop actually living it. And suddenly I was in this territory where the formula had no instructions, and that was deeply terrifying. And it was the first time you ever kind of feel alone, if that strangely makes sense. But at the same time, it was kind of strangely honest because maybe for the first time I wasn't solving life. This was actually experiencing it. And I remember one moment very clearly looking at myself in the mirror. And the funny thing is on paper, everything was fine. I mean, in fact, everything was actually more than fine. I was healthy. I had a great job. I had an MBA. I had professional certifications. I was a certified management accountant. I had a degree in strategy and competitive analytics, a Six Sigma certification, a beautiful home, great friends, the ability to travel and roam the world. I was in a strong relationship, happily married, safe, stable, disciplined, in good shape. Yeah, on paper, looking back and even looking at it now, yeah, the formula worked. Every small accomplishment had been checked off. But the person looking back at me in the mirror had no idea who he actually was. I had no idea what I wanted. I didn't know where I was going. All I had was a collection of things that looked really good on paper. And I just remember thinking, if you crumpled up that piece of paper, where would it land? Because the formula had produced success, but I hadn't produced meaning in my life yet. So for years, this push and pull between acknowledgement and suppression kept building. I questioned every thought. I questioned the formula, but I kept following it anyway. And really, it was up until one point in 2024 when I realized something simple. I didn't want the formula anymore. Truly not because it failed, because again, on paper, things looked fine, but because I was tired of living inside it. And that realization didn't happen in some dramatic moment. It happened in a bar down at the Jersey Shore. And somewhere in that conversation, I just blurted it out, I think I'm going to run a half marathon. And the moment the words left my mouth, something shifted. Because saying it out loud meant something. It meant the formula wasn't in charge anymore. I didn't have a full plan yet. As soon as this all came out, quite honestly, I didn't know if I could even finish it. I had been running consistently for years, but something about the half marathon made sense. It was like it would challenge my discipline. It would certainly test my endurance. It would force me to eat better, drink less, train differently. It was familiar enough that I knew how to start, but difficult enough that I didn't know where it would end. And so later that night, I went home, looked at myself in the mirror, and said something out loud that I never said before. Fuck it, I'm going to change. And in that moment, the scar that I'd always been trying to hide, the scar of perfection, the scar of structured obedience, the scar of always needing to be the best, suddenly became something else. It became a vow, not a crutch, a vow. And that night, nothing actually changed. The world didn't move. My life looked exactly the same. But something inside my head had shifted because the formula no longer owned me fully. And the quiet scar finally had a voice. And that voice said something simple. The proving had just begun.